Hello there, everybody. Surprise, surprise, Jacob Rees-Mogg is not happy, and this time it is with the House of Lords. They keep defeating the government in votes, and rather than attributing those defeats to the current government being repulsive in almost every conceivable way, Mogg has concluded it is because the second chamber is full of Remainers, determined to make life as difficult as possible for the Tories. But, worry not, the Victorian throwback has a solution, and that solution is more cronyism. Let's take a look.
Moving on. A severe, though not unfriendly, critic of our institutions said that the cure for admiring the House of Lords was to go and look at it. Badgett. That was indeed Walter Badgett who said that, though he didn't name the critic who he was quoting. It's not, he's quoting somebody else. And it's a very important point, because the House of Lords is in theory a marvellous body made up of all these wonderful panjandrums who are enormously distinguished and learned and so on and so forth. But in fact, when you go and look at it, they're not. They're politicians who you remember that they used to be somebody once, and you're not entirely sure whether they still are or they are somebody else. It's not this great bastion of wisdom. And what has recently emerged is that since the 2016 referendum, the government has lost more than half of all votes in the House of Lords, a milestone previously achieved just once this century in the session from 2019 to 21, the session that executed Brexit, when more than two-thirds of all votes were defeated by the Lords. Now, this is really important because the Lords hate Brexit. It is full of Remainers, many of them lefties, and this has meant that the democratic will, as exercised in the referendum and by a general election in 2019, is being thwarted by peers stuck in the 1970s who were avid pro-Europeans. Now, I've long thought the Tories should simply appoint more peers to get its business through, so we have a fair representation of Brexit peers. Actually, I think Nigel Farage, my co-presenter, would make an excellent peer of the realm.
Huh. Ugh.
But enough of what I think. Vox populi vox Dei. We asked the people what they thought of the House of Lords, and the people have spoken.
The highest court in the country. I'm very happy with it the way it is.
Very happy. They verify laws, I think. I don't know why you need a second, especially one which isn't elected, a second chamber which isn't elected. If it was elected, it would be more democratic, but it seems an anachronism.
Probably for people to know about what it does.
They're doing well for themselves, but not for the public. We don't need the House of Lords, do we, really? You're paying these guys a salary for what? To turn up, and that's it. You know, this country's gone to pot.
It certainly has gone to pot, yes, but note how they included that woman incorrectly stating the Lords is the highest court in the land, just so Mogg could have this moment of thinking he is our educator.
There's a bit of a mixed bag today, and also just to correct the record, it's no longer the highest court in the land. That role was ridiculously taken away by a terrible constitutional reform, but that's perhaps a discussion for another day.
Of course, this is just Mogg yet again displaying his contempt for the judiciary, because he also would have you believe the Supreme Court judges are a bunch of lefty Remainers. But just think about what he is saying here. Instead of the Supreme Court, he would prefer the highest court in the land to be a place he believes should be stuffed with as many Tories as possible. Does it sound like people would receive a fair hearing in a place like that? Mogg is acutely aware Tories are facing electoral oblivion, so a second chamber stuffed with Conservatives would be highly beneficial in delaying a Labour government from passing its legislation. All of this moaning from Mogg would be conspicuous by its absence if the shoe were on the other foot. Picture a Brexiteer-heavy Lords voting down over 50% of Labour government legislation. Would Jacob Rees-Mogg really be moaning about that? No. One final thought. I think it's almost inevitable we will one day see the Lord Mogg taking his place in the House of Lords. But he does have a problem. If he chooses to stay on and wins his seat in North East Somerset, we could be looking at a situation where none of his allies are in the position to nominate him for a peerage ever again. But if he chooses to not run again, or loses his seat, he will almost certainly be nominated by Sunak in the dissolution honours, in which case the taxpayer would be stuck with him sponging off it until the day he dies. I'm not entirely sure which is preferable. Would we want him remaining as a piece of dead wood in Parliament for God knows how long? Or should we just suck it up and accept the fact that he will end up in the Lords, and let's just get him in there as soon as possible, and then we can ignore him accordingly? Although he probably will continue presenting this drivel on GB News. Oh dear. But anyway, thank you for watching, take care, and goodbye.